In a distant galaxy where stars twinkled like diamonds, a dark secret lay hidden. Many alien races lived under the thumb of a powerful and cruel empire. They were captured and forced to work in secret labor camps, far from the light of freedom. Their lives were filled with pain and suffering, but no one outside the camps knew of their plight. In one of these camps, the air was thick with despair. Alien beings of all shapes and sizes toiled endlessly under the watchful eyes of armed guards. Some were small and nimble, while others were large and strong, but all shared the same heavy burden. Day after day they worked hard, their hands sore and their spirits broken. They longed for freedom, but their cries went unheard. Unbeknownst to them, their cries echoed through space. On a distant planet called Earth, a group of human explorers had set out on a mission to discover the secrets of the universe. They were curious and adventurous, always seeking new knowledge. One day, while scanning the stars, they stumbled upon strange signals coming from the dark corners of the galaxy. The signals were faint but full of emotion, desperation, pain, and a plea for help. The lead explorer, Captain Sarah, felt a chill run down her spine as she listened to the signals. "These beings are suffering," she said to her crew, her voice filled with determination. "We can't ignore their cries. We must find out what is happening." The other explorers nodded in agreement, their faces serious. They had never encountered anything like this before, and their hearts ached for those in need. After a thorough investigation, the humans gathered enough information about the hidden camps. They learned that the Empire was ruthless, treating the aliens like property rather than living beings. The Empire used them for labor, mining precious resources from dangerous planets. The explorers knew they had to act, but they also realized the dangers they would face. As they prepared for their mission, the humans felt a mix of fear and excitement. They would travel to a distant star system, risking their lives to help the enslaved aliens. Captain Sarah gathered her team, emphasizing the importance of their mission. "We have a chance to make a difference," she said passionately. "We cannot let fear stop us from doing what is right." Back in the labor camps, the aliens continued to suffer in silence. They whispered among themselves, sharing stories of hope and dreams of freedom. One small alien named Lyra, who had been captured from her home planet, often spoke of a time when they would be free. "We must believe that help will come," she said to her fellow captives. "We cannot lose hope even in the darkest times." Days turned into weeks as the humans made their preparations. They trained hard, learning how to navigate the dangerous territory of the Empire. They studied the layout of the labor camps and developed strategies for their rescue mission. They knew they would need to be stealthy and clever to succeed. Finally, the day of their departure arrived. The crew of the human ship stood together, looking out at the stars. Captain Sarah took a deep breath, feeling the weight of their mission on her shoulders. "This is our chance to help those who cannot help themselves," she said, her voice steady. "Let's bring hope to the hopeless." As they traveled through space, excitement bubbled within the crew. They knew the journey would be dangerous, but their hearts were filled with purpose. They were determined to reach the hidden camps and bring the aliens to safety. With every light year they crossed, their resolve grew stronger. They would not turn back until they had heard the cries for help and answered them. The stars shone brightly around them, but in the depths of the galaxy, shadows loomed. The humans were ready to face whatever dangers lay ahead. They believed that every creature deserved freedom and that together they could make a change. As they drew closer to their destination, they felt the weight of responsibility, but also the spark of hope that came with the promise of freedom for the enslaved aliens. This was just the beginning of their journey, but in their hearts, they knew they were not just explorers, they were heroes in the making. As the human ship approached the distant star system, the crew gathered around the control panel, their faces lit by the glow of the screens. Captain Sarah looked at her team, a mix of determination and anxiety in their eyes. "We have seen the suffering of the alien races," she began, her voice firm. "Now it's time to take action. We need a bold plan to save them." The crew listened closely as Sarah outlined her ideas. They would first gather intelligence on the labor camps, identifying where the aliens were held and the number of guards. "We can't rush in blindly," she emphasized. "We need to be smart about this." John, the ship's technician, raised his hand. "What if we create a distraction? We could draw the guards away from the main camp." His suggestion sparked excitement among the crew. Sarah nodded thoughtfully. "That could work. If we can divert their attention, we can slip in and out without being noticed." The team brainstormed for hours, discussing various strategies. They debated the best ways to create a distraction and how to communicate with the aliens once they arrived. It was crucial to coordinate everything perfectly, as even a small mistake could lead to disaster. Lisa, the ship's pilot, chimed in. "We could use our ship's cloaking technology to hide while we scout the area. That way we can gather the information we need without alerting the guards." The crew agreed, realizing that stealth would be their greatest advantage. As they finalized their plan, excitement filled the air. They would set out at dawn, using the cover of night to approach the nearest labor camp. Sarah assigned roles to each member of the team. "We need everyone focused. Each of you plays a vital part in this mission. Remember, we are fighting for lives," she reminded them. With the plan in place, the crew prepared for their journey. They gathered supplies, including medical kits, food, and equipment for communication. The atmosphere was charged with energy, knowing they were about to embark on a dangerous but important mission. On the ship, the crew practiced their roles, simulating the rescue operation. They worked on signals to communicate silently and drilled escape routes. Each member felt the weight of their task, knowing that the fate of the enslaved aliens rested on their shoulders. Meanwhile, in the labor camps, the aliens continued to suffer under the harsh regime of their captors. Lyra, the small alien who had spoken of hope, tried to keep spirits high among her fellow captives. She encouraged them to stay strong, reminding them of the possibility of freedom. "We must hold on to our dreams," she urged. "One day, someone will come for us." Back on the ship, the countdown to departure began. As the final preparations were made, Sarah felt a mixture of nerves and excitement. They were ready to face the unknown, driven by their desire to help. "This is more than just a mission," she said, gathering her crew one last time before they launched. "It's about justice and compassion. We are not just rescuing lives, we are giving them hope." At last, dawn broke and the ship launched into the sky. As they soared through space, the crew kept their eyes on the stars, focused on their destination. They were united in purpose, each person's heart beating with the same rhythm, a shared commitment to freedom. As they approached the labor camp, the ship's sensors detected movement. The guards were stationed around the perimeter, their heavy weapons ready. The crew's hearts raced, but they remained focused. Using the cloaking technology, they slipped past the outer defenses, their ship invisible to the naked eye. Once inside the camp's vicinity, Sarah ordered the ship to hover silently above. They could see the alien workers below, toiling in the dirt under the harsh sun. Lyra and her friends appeared weak and tired, but their eyes still held a glimmer of hope. The crew felt a surge of determination to save them. Now it was time to put their plan into action. As Sarah signaled for the crew to prepare for the distraction, she felt a sense of purpose wash over her. They were not just fighting for the aliens, they were standing up against injustice, ready to change the course of their lives forever. The human ship hovered silently above the labor camp, cloaked from view. Inside, the crew members could feel the tension in the air. Captain Sarah looked at her team, their faces illuminated by the soft glow of the control panel. "This is it," she said, her voice steady but filled with urgency. "We're about to enter the darkness, and we must stay focused. We're here to bring light back to these beings." As they prepared to descend, Sarah assigned the crew their specific tasks. John and Lisa would handle the ship's systems, ensuring they remained hidden while maintaining communication. The others, including Sarah, would go down to the ground to scout the area and gather intel. With a deep breath, they initiated the descent. The ship glided silently down, landing softly behind a cluster of rocks. The crew quickly exited, slipping into the shadows. The camp was filled with the sounds of machinery and the distant cries of aliens, their pleas echoing in the night. "Stay close and remember our signals," Sarah whispered as they moved through the darkness. They crept forward, hearts pounding in their chests. The guards patrolled the perimeter, armed with heavy weapons, their faces stern and cold. As they approached the edge of the camp, Sarah signaled for the crew to stop. They found a hidden vantage point where they could observe the workers below. The sight was heartbreaking. Alien beings, once full of life and color, now appeared pale and weary. They were shackled, their movements slow and labored. "This is worse than we imagined," John murmured, his eyes filled with sympathy. Sarah nodded, anger boiling within her. "We have to help them," she whispered fiercely. "But first, we need to gather more information." They began to move stealthily around the camp, avoiding the guards and slipping through the shadows. As they crept closer, they overheard a conversation between two guards. "The Empire wants to increase production," one guard said, his voice gruff. "They don't care about the lives they destroy." The humans exchanged worried glances. The Empire's cruelty was even worse than they had feared. Sarah felt a surge of determination. "We need to warn the aliens," she said. "If we don't act fast, they might be moved to another camp." Using their communication devices, they carefully sent a message back to the ship. "We need to rescue the aliens before they are moved. It's now or never." Lisa responded quickly, her voice steady. "I'm ready to provide cover. Just give the signal." As they made their way deeper into the camp, they finally spotted Lyra and a group of fellow captives huddled together in a corner. Lyra looked weak, but her spirit seemed unbroken. "Help is coming," Sarah whispered to herself, hoping the aliens could sense their presence. Suddenly, a loud alarm blared, shattering the quiet night. The guards shouted and ran toward the source of the sound. Panic erupted in the camp. Sarah's heart raced as she turned to her team. "This is our chance!" she shouted. "We need to get to Lyra and the others now." With urgency, they sprinted toward the group of aliens. The guards were distracted, and time was on their side. They reached Lyra, who looked up in shock as Sarah and the crew approached. "Who are you?" she asked, her voice trembling. "We're here to rescue you," Sarah replied, her eyes filled with determination. "Follow us, and we'll get you to safety." Lyra quickly gathered her friends, her eyes lighting up with hope. "You heard us? You really heard us!" she exclaimed, her voice full of emotion. The group was hesitant, glancing around at the chaos unfolding in the camp. "Trust us," John urged, glancing over his shoulder at the approaching guards. "We're here to help. We'll keep you safe." Just as they began to move, the guards noticed them. "Stop!" one shouted, raising his weapon. "Get back here!" Sarah's heart raced as she pulled Lyra and the others closer.
"Run!"
she shouted, and they bolted toward the edge of the camp. The crew led the way, guiding the aliens through the maze of machinery and debris, narrowly avoiding the guards. As they dashed into the shadows, Sarah's mind raced. They had to reach the ship before it was too late. Behind them, shouts echoed in the night, but they pressed on, fueled by the desperate need to save these beings from the darkness. The feeling of hope surged in their hearts, but danger loomed behind them. The fight for freedom had begun, and they were determined to see it through, no matter the cost. The escape from the labor camp was a blur of adrenaline and fear. Captain Sarah led the group through the maze of machinery, the sound of guards shouting behind them echoing in the night. Each step felt heavy, as if the weight of their mission pressed down on her shoulders. "We have to keep moving," she urged, glancing back to ensure everyone was close. Lyra and her friends stumbled alongside the humans, their faces a mix of confusion and hope. "Where are we going?" Lyra asked, her voice shaky. "To our ship," Sarah replied, determination in her eyes. "It's our only chance for safety." As they neared the edge of the camp, the alarms blared louder, and the shouts of guards filled the air. The crew's hearts raced, but they knew they had to act quickly. Suddenly, Lisa's voice crackled over the communication device. "I'm ready with the ship, but we need to hurry before they find us." Just as they rounded a corner, they spotted the ship, hidden behind a cluster of rocks. Relief washed over Sarah. "There it is!" she shouted. But their joy was short-lived. Two guards stood at the entrance, weapons drawn, scanning the area for intruders. "Stop right there!" one of the guards barked. Panic surged through the group as they realized they had to act fast. "We can't let them capture us," John whispered urgently. "We need a distraction." Lyra's eyes brightened. "I can help!" "My people have been waiting for a chance to fight back." Sarah looked at her, surprised. "What do you mean?" Lyra explained quickly. "We are not just slaves. We are warriors, too. We know the camp better than anyone. If you give us a chance, we can turn this around." The crew exchanged glances, weighing their options. Time was running out. Sarah nodded, deciding to trust Lyra. "All right, let's create a diversion. We'll cover you as you lead the other captives." Lyra rallied her friends, quickly explaining the plan. "When we charge at the guards, create as much noise as you can. Make it seem like we're attacking from all sides. They won't know where to look." With the plan in place, Sarah signaled the crew to prepare. Lyra and her group positioned themselves, ready to spring into action. "On my count," Sarah said, her heart racing. 3, 2, 1, go! As Lyra and the aliens surged forward, yelling and shouting, chaos erupted. The guards turned, startled by the sudden assault. "What is happening?" one shouted, trying to regain control. The crew seized the moment. Sarah and her team rushed in, joining the fray. John charged at the nearest guard, using his training to disarm him. The aliens fought with a fierce spirit, fueled by their long-held desire for freedom. With each passing second, the tide began to turn. The guards, caught off guard, struggled to maintain control. Lyra fought with courage, rallying her fellow captives. "For our freedom!" she cried, and her words ignited a fire within the group. As the battle intensified, Sarah fought alongside them, her heart filled with pride. The aliens were no longer just victims. They were warriors reclaiming their power. The guards, once confident, now stumbled back, overwhelmed by the sheer force of the uprising. In the chaos, Sarah caught a glimpse of Lisa watching from the ship, ready to assist. "We need to finish this," Sarah shouted to Lyra. "Get your people to the ship." Lyra nodded, urgency in her eyes. "Everyone to the ship, now!" The aliens began to retreat toward the hidden vessel, covering each other as they fought against the remaining guards. Just as they reached the ship, a group of guards regrouped, desperately trying to regain control. "Stop them!" one yelled, but it was too late. The aliens were fueled by hope, and they fought with everything they had. Sarah led the charge, her determination shining bright. "We can't let them take us back!" "Fight for your freedom." The crew worked together, coordinating their efforts to protect the aliens as they climbed aboard the ship. Finally, everyone was inside, breathless and trembling but alive. Lisa immediately activated the ship's systems, readying it for takeoff. "Hold on!" she shouted as she initiated the launch sequence. With a roar, the ship lifted off the ground, soaring into the night sky. The crew cheered, their hearts racing with adrenaline and triumph. They had done it. They had turned the tide. As they ascended, Sarah looked back at the camp, now a blur in the distance. "We are free," she said, her voice filled with emotion. Lyra stood beside her, tears of joy streaming down her face. "Thank you for believing in us," she whispered. Sarah smiled, knowing this was just the beginning. They had ignited a spark of rebellion, a fire that would spread beyond this night. The aliens were no longer alone. They were united in their fight for freedom. Together, they would rise against their oppressors, ready to reclaim their lives and futures. As the ship soared away from the labor camp, the crew felt a mix of relief and exhilaration. Captain Sarah stood at the control panel, her heart racing. They had escaped, but their journey was far from over. The mission was not just about their survival, it was about the freedom of all enslaved aliens. Lyra joined her at the front, a look of determination on her face. "What's next?" she asked, her voice steady. "We have to help others like us." Sarah nodded, admiring the spirit of the alien warrior. "We need to gather more allies," she replied. "We can't fight this battle alone." As they set a course for a nearby planet rumored to harbor other enslaved beings, the crew discussed their options. John leaned forward, excitement sparking in his eyes. "We should contact the rebels on that planet. They can help us organize a larger uprising." Lisa, who had been working on the ship's systems, chimed in. "I can reach out to them. I've heard stories about a group that's been planning to attack the Empire's supply lines. If we can connect with them, we might have a chance." Lyra's expression grew serious. "If we do this, we must be ready. The Empire will not sit back and let us take their power. We need to be prepared for anything." Sarah felt the weight of responsibility on her shoulders. "We will prepare. We'll train together, humans and aliens alike. If we're going to stand a chance against the Empire, we must work as one." The ship sped through the vastness of space, and soon they arrived at the planet, a vibrant world filled with lush greenery and clear blue skies. It was a sharp contrast to the dark memories of the labor camp. Sarah felt hope swell within her as they landed. As they disembarked, the crew met with a group of rebels waiting at the landing site. The rebels were a mix of different species, their faces marked with determination and hope. The leader, a tall being with bright green skin, stepped forward. "Welcome," he said, his voice booming. "We've heard whispers of your bravery. You've sparked hope in many hearts." Lyra stepped forward, introducing herself. "We need your help to free the others. The Empire will not stop until all of us are under their control. Together we can fight back." The leader nodded. "We've been waiting for a chance like this. With your knowledge and our strength, we can create a plan." As they discussed strategies, the crew and the rebels began to form a bond. They shared stories, learned from each other, and found common ground. Sarah watched as Lyra and the rebels trained together, their skills blending seamlessly. The spirit of unity filled the air. Days turned into weeks, and the group prepared for their first mission. They planned to attack one of the Empire's supply depots, a crucial step in weakening their hold. Sarah felt nervous but also excited. This was their moment to fight back, to show the Empire that they would not be silenced. On the night of the operation, tension hung in the air. The rebels gathered around a holographic map, going over the details one last time. "We strike at midnight," Sarah said, her voice strong. "Our goal is to disable their defenses and free as many captives as we can." The crew and the rebels moved as one, their hearts united by a common cause. Under the cover of darkness, they approached the depot, their movements careful and deliberate. As they neared the entrance, Sarah felt a surge of adrenaline. This was it, the moment they had prepared for. With a signal from Sarah, they charged in, a wave of energy and determination. The guards at the depot were caught off guard, and the rebels swiftly overwhelmed them. The sound of blasters and shouts filled the air, a chaotic symphony of battle. As they fought their way through the depot, Sarah felt a sense of purpose. Each enemy they took down was a step closer to freedom for all enslaved beings. The crew worked together flawlessly, their training shining through as they moved in sync. Finally, they reached the main chamber, where the captives were held. The sight of shackled beings ignited a fire within Sarah. "We're here to rescue you!" she shouted, her voice echoing in the chamber. The captives looked up, hope blooming in their eyes. As the crew worked to free them, Lyra and the rebels continued to fend off guards, creating a barrier of protection. The atmosphere was electric with anticipation and fear. Once the captives were free, Sarah turned to Lyra and the rebels. "Let's finish this!" Together they charged out of the depot, fighting side by side. The rebellion had become more than just a mission. It was a movement. As they fled into the night, Sarah felt a sense of triumph. They had ignited a spark, and now it was spreading like wildfire. The journey to freedom had begun, and together they would rise against their oppressors, determined to create a new beginning for all.